Hi guys, it's Dan here, and today we're gonna do a quick camera comparison between iPhone 13 Pro Max and OPPO X8 Find Pro. As you know, both of these phones are not new. OPPO is from last year, and iPhone 13 Pro Max has obviously several years. But as you know, iPhone upgrades in recent years were pretty boring, so if you're considering switching to Android, but not necessarily Samsung, OPPO might be an interesting choice for you. So let's compare these two cameras and see if it's worth upgrading to this model. Okay, so let's start with some daytime footage. And we have iPhone on the left and OPPO on the right. This is the main 1x sensor. And now 3x zoom. As you can see so far, the images are quite similar. The OPPO has a bit better colors, I would say, a bit more saturated. But both of them look quite good. Now here we have ultra wide, standard 1x lens, 3x zoom, and 6x on OPPO. A few more examples. And here, even though iPhone has digital 6x, also looks quite decent. Here again, digital 6x on iPhone. Looks a bit over sharpened, but quality wise pretty good. We can notice a constant theme more visible here again, that colors on OPPO are a bit more punchy and more pleasing, I would say. And one sample from indoors. As you can see, iPhone's white balance is more on the warmer side. And now let's move to video. Okay, so this is a video with 4K 30 frames per second. I will run a bit to see the stabilization. Looks much more stable on the OPPO, but we'll see during editing which one looks more stable. This is a video from the main camera. Let's switch to ultra wide. So this is the ultra wide lens. Now switching to the main one. Three x zoom. And on OPPO we also have 6x. This is another video sample. First on the ultra wide lens. Now let's switch to the main lens. Three x zoom. And 6x on OPPO. An artificial 6. On iPhone. And now let's check several samples from the nighttime. This is the main 1x lens. And now 3x zoom. OPPO looks a bit sharper and with better colors. And when there is very little light, OPPO produces much brighter image. And a few more examples. And even though iPhone has already several years, I would say that in some scenarios it still produces a bit nicer image. OPPO is definitely less consistent in its results. And now let's see a few nighttime video samples. iPhone's video looks a little bit more blurry, and of course there is more lens flares than on OPPO. Here we can see that OPPO has much better colors and iPhone a bit washed out. Now let's switch to ultra wide. Both of them look quite dark. OPPO looks a bit better and with warmer colors. A few more samples. As you can see, the video on OPPO looks much clearer and the light flares from the light sources are not as prominent as on iPhone. But here on 3x zoom, OPPO looks very shaky, even less stable than iPhone. And one last sample before we will move to front camera. And again we can see that iPhone is a bit more blurry, washed out and with more lens flares. Okay, now let's move to the front camera. We will start with some selfies. Here the differences are much bigger. The color profiles are completely different. In some shots I prefer iPhone, in some other ones I prefer OPPO, so here I would say it's more even out. But on the last one, when the light is behind my back, I look completely washed out on OPPO, whereas iPhone maintained the balance. Okay, so this is a video sample from the front-facing camera, 4K 30 frames per second. Looks a bit washed out on iPhone and a bit overexposed in OPPO. But generally colors look much better in OPPO. We'll see if it's the same when I will transfer it to my MacBook. But so far my face looks a bit better on OPPO, better exposed I guess. But when you can see the sky, it was definitely overexposed in OPPO and iPhone was regaining some blues. Let's also do a mic test. It's there is some light wind. I'm not sure if you're gonna hear it, but this is the sample audio from OPPO and this is the sample audio from iPhone. Please let me know down in the comments which one do you think sounds better. Once again, sound from OPPO front camera and sound from iPhone front camera. Okay, so this is a video on the front facing camera, 4K 30 frames per second. The colors look pretty decent on both of them. I will now run to see the stabilization. seems that the sky is a bit better exposed on the iPhone, and the clouds are a bit blown out on OPPO, but might be just very high brightness on the screen. We'll see later. But both of them look quite decent. One more sample to see the sky. Now one more open space. And the sky is totally blown out on OPPO, and iPhone retains more balanced look. Now let's move to nighttime. We will again start with some selfies. The ones from OPPO are definitely more detailed, but somehow I prefer the look from the iPhone. And now a few short videos from the front-facing camera. This is a video from front-facing camera, 4K, 30 frames per second. Looks much brighter on the iPhone, quite blurred and darker on OPPO. This is a video from the front-facing camera, 4K, 30 frames per second. Looks pretty dark, both on iPhone and OPPO, but much darker in OPPO. Okay, so summing up, I have to say that even though iPhone 13 Pro Max is already quite old, it was holding up pretty well. In daytime photos and videos, I would say that OPPO had a bit better colors and better dynamic range, but iPhone was still looking pretty good. In nighttime, with the rear camera, the results were a bit more mixed. I would say that in some pictures iPhone looked better and some other ones OPPO looked better. But in terms of nighttime video, I would say that OPPO definitely had much better footage, much stable, clearer and better colors. And as for the front-facing camera, you can clearly see that OPPO has a better resolution. There is definitely much more detail, but there are scenarios where iPhone pictures look a bit more pleasing even though they are less sharp. And in terms of video, as you saw, in some scenarios, iPhone has much better dynamic range, and the sky on OPPO is very often blown out. Okay guys, that's it. Please let me know in the comments what do you think, which one looks better in your opinion. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.